Hey everyone, it's Joe here, and in this lesson, we're looking at how fast can you lose fat. So what we'll cover today is that we are opposed to change, you can't force rapid fat loss, how the Biggest Loser ruined the contestants, a more subtle approach, and what is a good rate of fat loss. So let me start by saying that I definitely understand why you would want to lose weight as fast as possible. Of course we want to reach our goals as soon as possible. And as humans, especially these days, we expect things right away. We want things to happen right away because of how we've been conditioned now. With our phones, we can search for things right away. We can see what our friends are doing right away. We can find a date on Tinder right away. We expect things that used to take a long time, the way we contact each other, happens instantly now. And, we're racing in life, in everything. And if I could get you to your weight loss goal in a sustainable way, with your best interests in mind, in a super quick time, I totally would. I guarantee you I would do that. But changes in our body just don't work like that. Weight gain is a slow and gradual process, and as is weight loss. Although slow in the micro sense that it feels slow, but then it might only be like 1 year of your whole life to reach your goal weight. And then in that context, when you look at your whole life, it's really fast. But it feels slow, that's what I'm saying. It's the same with building muscle. We need to train for a year, at least 2 years really, to see some really noticeable changes and feel some really noticeable changes, because the body takes that long to change. That's just a fact. Now when you try to rush things, for example weight training or sport, what happens? We get injured, right? And with weight loss, if you try to rush it, well, our own body works against us when we try to do this, which is the point of this video, which I want to explain to you now. It's so important. When you know it though, it changes everything. So first things first, keep in mind that our bodies generally don't want change. They like everything to stay the same, or at least they don't want things to change quickly. In biological terms, it's called homeostasis. So just like as we grow older, change is perceived undesirable. We like things to be familiar in all aspects of our life, and so does our body. If we try to change things dramatically, quickly, such as lose a lot of weight fast, our bodies will respond with compensation mechanisms. This is the homeostasis. Homeostasis is affecting all aspects of our body. For example, the acidity of your blood pressure, regulating blood sugar levels. Of course, these things can become damaged over time, but homeostasis is what keeps us functioning. So these coping mechanisms, so when we try to change things dramatically, right, like weight loss, our bodies will respond with these coping compensation mechanisms. And these coping or compensation mechanisms, they keep us alive. So fast weight loss is considered starvation by the body, if you think about how our body is hardwired, right, from such a long time ago. If our body goes into starvation, the coping mechanism is to adjust the body into starvation mode so that it can survive as long as it can. Now, the only way to create rapid fat loss is to create a large calorie deficit, right? This is what a lot of crash diets and fads go for, although they will dress it up differently so we don't realize it's a glorified large calorie deficit. They might call it all sorts of different things, restrict different food groups. All they're doing is creating a calorie deficit. Now people have some initial success, but once their body realizes what's going on, the metabolism slows right down. And then eventually they bounce right back up to where they were, the weight they were, or sometimes heavier. And we have very hard proof of this happening too, not only in research, but mainstream proof now. So we have a study that looked at the Biggest Loser TV show, contestants from that. I believe the season was those contestants on the 2009 season. So this is a screenshot of an article from the Scientific American published that explored the research study, and it was called 6 Years After the Biggest Loser, Metabolism is Slower and Weight is Back Up. So if we look here at this illustration, 13 of 14 contestants regained weight in the 6 years after the competition. So these are people who, they lost hundreds of pounds and they've regained it. So 4 contestants are heavier now than before the competition. So just to explain the diagram quickly. So this red line here is Danny Cahill. He lost 239 pounds. Yeah, season 8, 2009. He lost 239 pounds in the short time of the competition, and he won. But he's since regained over 100 pounds 6 years after, and you can see what way he's going. Aaron Egbert is the only contestant who weighs less today than 6 years ago. So there's always exceptions to every rule, of course, and with the right strategy in place. But I wonder how Aaron's lifestyle is, and if this is difficult to do or not. You'll also see that Aaron only lost 50 pounds. So it's nowhere near as dramatic as losing 239 pounds. So the metabolic shift that I'm about to talk about won't be as so pronounced in Aaron because the weight loss was not so rapid and it wasn't so much. We have Rudy Paul regained 80% of his lost weight. So Rudy Paul was down here, lost down to here, so almost the same amount as Danny. He regained, almost all of it. He's then had surgery he's then had bariatric surgery, so that's why his weight is now down here. So where it goes from here would be very interesting. And these grey lines here, these are other contestants. Yeah. So the ones who lost a little bit, they're all coming back, gradually gaining it. And the ones, the greater the weight loss, the greater it's coming back. And unfortunately, several of them are heavier than when they went on the show, which is quite sad. So this graph here explains what's going on. It's called a slowing metabolism. Nearly all the contestants have slower metabolisms today than they did 6 years ago, and burn fewer calories than expected when at rest. So all these contestants that agreed to be in this follow-up study, they used laboratory equipment to accurately measure their metabolic rate. So it's really fascinating data. So the yellow line again is Rudy Paul's, and so this is a baseline metabolism. So he was burning 800 fewer calories per day. So 800 calories per day. Most people, to maintain their weight, need to eat 2,000 calories per day, and so to lose weight, it's 1,600, 1,500. And already he's starting minus 800, so basically he's allowed to eat 1,000 calories per day if he wants to maintain his weight. Otherwise, he's going to gain weight, and sure enough, this is what happens. So Rudy was the one with the stomach surgery. So after that, his metabolism has improved somewhat, but I would like to see where it goes from here. Danny Cahill, the red line, the one who won the competition, he burns 800 fewer calories per day as of right now. So let's say that he needed to eat 2,000 calories to maintain his weight, like an average person. He can only eat 1,200 calories per day to maintain his weight. If he exceeds 1,200, he's going to gain weight because of how much this fast, significant, rapid weight loss ruined his metabolism. The body has gone into starvation mode. And when it goes into starvation mode, it wants to preserve energy, right? That's the only way. If you're not getting enough calories in, back to our ancestral days, well then, it must be famine. There's no food around, so the body's like, well, I need to conserve energy, so I'm just going to put everything on, snooze mode. So just the bare essentials: breathing, blinking, eating, talking if I have to, but everything gets really shut down, slowed down. Your nails grow slower, your hair grows slower. Everything gets slowed down so that you can last as long as possible without the food. And that's the damage that they've done here, and it's difficult to reverse. We're not quite sure. It can be, of course, improved, but we want to avoid this happening. Or if it has happened, we're going to slowly coax it back up. And then we also have This blue line was Aaron Egbert, who is also burning a lot fewer calories per day than before. So the rapid weight loss requires a large calorie deficit, right? So here, the weight loss, we need a calorie deficit. That means calories out being greater than calories in. But if you do it really fast, it makes your body go on the defensive. And it in turn slashes your metabolic rate to preserve energy. So what happens is, even if your calories in is very small, let's move it down here, even if your calories in is very small, your calories out, your body reduces that so much via lowering your metabolic rate, the energy that you burn at rest while you're asleep, the energy that we just use for day-to-day living. It reduces that so much that calories in becomes greater than calories out. Even if the calories in is small, it's cut this so much that you're still looking at this calorie surplus, even though you don't eat very much. Now, in addition, rapid weight loss also ramps up our hunger hormone ghrelin, which I mentioned in the lesson about hormones and stress. So it also makes us feel more hungry. So it's a bit of a vicious circle. Now, this is why I often hear, and you may have heard of people, or you may have experienced yourself, there's people who swear they were in a calorie deficit for a month. You know, that they'll say, well, I was consuming, I was consuming, fewer than 1,000 calories like every day, and I didn't lose very much weight. And, well, we know that people tend to underreport. So the first thing that will cross my mind is, are you definitely sure that you're only consuming 1,000 calories per day on average for the week? Because some people will do it 5 days a week, and then the weekend is completely different, and it makes up for that. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Say they were only consuming 1,000 calories every day. Over the month, initially they'll lose weight. Oh yeah, but the body soon realizes, hang on a minute, this is famine. Our brain is still the product of all those years of evolution, so it still thinks, okay, well, it must be, bad weather or wherever we are, there's no food available, no nutrient-dense food, there's no calories available, so I'm going into starvation mode. I'm going to preserve all the energy because you need to survive for the human race to continue. And so their body reduced its metabolic rate to compensate of these people who are consuming fewer than 1,000 calories per day for a month or whatever. And so, yeah, they were consuming so little calories. If we move it here, 1,000 calories in, but their body has responded because that was so few calories compared to what they need. The body has just gone, all right, well, I'm going to really cut the metabolic rate by 500, 800, 1,000 calories and make sure that we, preserve as much energy as we can. And then calories in becomes, well, equal to calories out. They're not going to gain weight, but the weight's not really going to budge. That's one of the main things that the diet industry, the fitness industry is not telling people. They just offer them these crazy crash diets, super low calories, because they get a result in the first week, and then they don't really care about what happens to you after that. So a more subtle approach to weight loss is required. Yeah, you can't force fat loss. All we can do is gently encourage the body to drop fat by eating in a calorie deficit, a modest calorie deficit, and that's a weekly average, and you want to do that consistently, of course. Just spoke about in week 2. Now we focus on doing this first, mastering this, and then complement it with some muscle building exercise, which comes next. This helps maintain metabolic rate even though weight is decreasing. Super important. The muscle building helps to maintain your metabolic rate even though weight loss is happening. So muscle building really helps to minimize this slowing metabolism. And the aim being you lose the weight, but we're going to keep metabolism here. So weight loss doesn't become increasingly more difficult. That was such a big problem with The Biggest Loser. they did a couple of workouts, but the workouts were like real cardio, like energy burn workouts, because they were just, the goal was to who could lose the most weight in a short period of time. So it was just like, let's just create a really great calorie deficit. But what we need to be focusing on is maintaining the metabolic rate, even when weight is decreasing. So this is why the meal plan I've given you, it's about 11,000 calories per week, which is about 1,500 calories per day. This is going to be a gentle yet perfect rate of weight loss for the majority of you. Now, and if it wasn't for you, we would have already spoken about what you should be doing instead, what kind of minor tweaks we want to make up or down. And when we swap out foods and whatever else, we want to be using the skills we learned from the Lose It app and the data in the app to make informed decisions about what we add in our diet to replace what we've taken out. So basically, I've set this up so that you do lose fat in the fastest way that you can, whilst not hurting your metabolic rate and not setting you up for a rebound weight gain. So if there's one thing to remember here, I know I've been talking a lot, I apologize. One thing to remember here and work on the most, it's to be patient. You didn't get out of shape in a month, and you're not getting in shape in a month. We're doing this for the long haul, because this is going to stick. Now, the people who are stuck with the fast fat loss mentality are also the ones who gain it back after the diet ends, or they quit entirely after a few weeks and they never get the result they had hoped. And remember, fat loss doesn't look like this. It looks like this. Still trends downwards, but it goes up and down as well, and around. Okay, now that's out of the way, the second thing we should look at is how fast should you be expecting to lose fat? Okay, what is a good rate of fat loss? That's what you want to know. So this depends on how much fat you have to lose. The higher your starting levels of body fat, the faster you can expect to lose it without negative side effects. The leaner you start, the slower the rate of fat loss will be. So, rather than recommending a hard number to follow, I recommend to set fat loss targets as a percentage, between 0.5 and 1% of your total body weight per week. The benefit of using percentages is the rate of loss automatically scales with your body weight. So let's do an example. If you weigh 170 pounds or 77 kilos, then you can expect weight loss between 0.9 pounds or 0.4 kilos and 1.8 pounds or 0.8 kilos per week. Wait, that sounded confusing. You can expect a weight loss between 0.9 and 1.8 pounds or 0.4 kilos and 0.8 kilos per week. So almost 2 pounds and almost 1 kilo per week if you weigh 170 pounds or 77 kilos. Now, as it's based on a percentage, that weight loss will not stay linear. You will ever so slowly decrease that rate as your weight comes down. So you might start at losing 2 pounds a week. It's not going to stay at that. Once you're 10 pounds lighter, you can't. It's impossible. It's pretty much impossible for you to safely continue to lose 2 pounds a week without damaging your metabolism. So we would want to see that slow down to say 1.5. You can calculate the percentages. And I want you to know that that's okay. We're expecting that to happen. We understand why that happens, and we want that to happen because we need to protect your metabolic rate so that when you do reach your goal weight, your metabolism is still fast and it becomes your new normal weight. Your body gets used to that being your normal weight, and then it will be automatic for you to remain at that weight and enjoy yourself. Okay, so to recap this lesson, you can't force rapid fat loss because the body is opposed to quick changes. The body doesn't like fast change. And our minds also don't like fast change, especially as we grow older. Compared to children, they're not really afraid of change. But as we grow older and we get set in our ways, we don't really like change that much, and I'm experiencing that myself, and of course I'm not even very old. Damage to the metabolic rate can result if we don't approach a calorie deficit sensibly. So we're doing it sensibly. A good rate of weight loss is 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week. So you can calculate that now. If you go, I didn't record an example of this, but if you go into if you have an iPhone at least, but I'm sure it's the same on Android, if you go into Calculator app and you type in your weight, let's say it's 170 pounds, you type in 170 times, and then if you wanted to work out what's 1%, you type 1, and you push the percentage. There's a button with a percentage sign on it. You push that. You don't push equals, you push the percentage sign. And it will say 0.01, and then you push equals, and it will say 1.7 pounds. And so that, if you're 170 pounds, the maximum rate of weight loss that you're aiming for is 1.7 pounds per week. And the more weight you lose, the slower that becomes, but that is a good thing. Okay, and I just want to leave you with this thought. Losing a lot of weight quickly shows that you're motivated. Losing a lot of weight gradually and maintaining it for years shows you've learned patience and good habits, and these are infinitely more powerful than motivation. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll speak soon.